Ken Whiting with Paddle TV with another in-depth, unbiased gear review. And in this video, we are reviewing Jackson Kayak's latest kayak, the Knarr. Getting right into it, here's what Jackson Kayak has to say about the Knarr. Jackson returns to its fishing roots with a completely new luxury fishing platform. The Knarr is the ultimate kayak for everything big, designed with big oceans, large lakes, and long-distance travel in mind. The hull is crafted for maximum speed, increased stability, handling surf, and tracking in any weather or water conditions. Combined with the new Flex Drive Mark IV pedal drive, the Knarr was built to handle all that big water will throw at it. For the tournament angler or gearhead, the Knarr features a whole new look at electronics, tackle, and gear management, bringing a fresh approach to deck organization on a fishing kayak. Now, if that gets you excited, then the idea of this kayak weighing 140 pounds and costing $4,200 probably isn't a big deal. I mean, when you look at the alternative of a fishing boat that will cost tens of thousands, if not more, then this is a very reasonable investment for an angler. Now, if you're a casual angler who enjoys the paddling or pedaling experience as much as the fishing experience, well, that might be 140 pounds in weight and $4,200 in cost might be a tough pill to swallow. It depends on what's important to you. Let's dive right in and take a look at some of the specs on this thing. The Jackson Kayak Knarr retails for $4,199 US. It's 13 feet 9 inches long. It's 37 inches wide. It weighs a whopping 140 pounds or 63.5 kilograms with the seat and the drive system. It has a capacity of 375 pounds or 170 kilograms. The Knarr features Jackson's totally new Flex Drive Mark IV pedal system. It has steering handles on both sides, tall gunnels or sidewalls to protect your gear. It has a yard sale proof rod management system that secures up to 6 rods inside the kayak's gunnels. It has Jackson's tri-track mounting track system around the whole boat to provide unlimited customizing options for adding accessories. There's the easy high-low seat, which is designed to be changed simply while you're on the water. The bow and stern is designed for easy installation of trolling motors, electric motors, or power pole, and it has hatches in the bow and stern for your gear. Now, reviewing this kayak is going to be difficult for me. I have to put myself in a different headspace because, well, for one, I'm a paddler. I've been paddling for over 30 years, and so the idea of pedaling, it's foreign to me. Even though I've done it before, I have to change gears there. On top of that, 140 pounds, $4,200 US, you know, it's a fishing machine, and it's not just a paddling machine. It's a paddling machine and it's a fishing machine. I'm an angler as well, so I have to think of this as an alternative to my fishing boat. The only way to do that, though, is to get this thing on the water, and so I'm in a perfect place to test this kayak. I'm on Lake Gunnersville in Alabama, one of the best bass fishing lakes in the country. I've hooked up with Jameson Redding, who's the host of the Road Trip Angler, and Dan Perry, who's a local angler who knows these waters really well. We're gonna take this boat out for a real test. Let's do it. Well, I've had a great opportunity to test this kayak. I've been actually kayak fishing for the past 8 hours. Here's what I can tell you. Let's start with portability. This thing is 140 pounds for a kayak. I've never heard of a kayak that's quite that heavy. There's a few that are right in that range, but 140 pounds is a lot for any kayak. So portability is an issue. If you're going to have this kayak, you really need to be either moving it around with two people, you need to have a kayak cart. A kayak trailer is a huge asset, so you don't have to put it on a rooftop. It's a lot of boat to put on a rooftop. You might even want a kayak trailer that you can launch a kayak like you launch a boat at a boat launch. It really depends on how strong you are and how easily you can move around a boat of this size. Next up, we'll talk about stability. Now, this is a 37-inch wide kayak. If it wasn't super stable, they did something grievously wrong. Fortunately, they didn't, and it is a very stable kayak. Is it the most stable kayak? Well, no, it's not the most stable kayak. And the reason for that is this thing is designed to be able to handle big water. They wanted it to be actually to perform well. And so the hull design is such that it gives up a little bit of stability for performance, for paddling speed and maneuverability. And it does that very well. It is a very stable kayak. It's got great initial stability. It's got good secondary stability. I mean, you can see I'm leaning my head right out over the side, and it's still pretty stable. Now, it doesn't lock in like some big, wide fishing kayaks do into that secondary stability mode. It doesn't quite lock in as comfortably. But again, that's because this thing is designed to not just for stability, like a lot of kayaks are. So super stable, not the most stable kayak in the world, but as stable as you need. Now, performance is such a relative thing. I mean, this is a 37-inch wide kayak. It's designed to fish from. It's designed to be a really stable, confident platform that handles all sorts of different water. So is it a high-performing kayak? No, it's not a high-performing kayak. But for a kayak of this size that's designed to do the type of things that you can do in this thing, it performs quite well. It paddles quite efficiently, turns quite well. The pedal drive system really gets this thing moving pretty fast. But in this trip we just had, it was too shallow to use the pedal drive for so much of it. And so we had to pop the pedal drive up and just paddle. Now, typically doing that with a boat like this, 140-pound boat that's wide, I'd think, oh my gosh, this is going to be agonizing. It wasn't agonizing to paddle this thing. It didn't feel like a dream, don't get me wrong. It felt like a 140-pound kayak that you're trying to paddle, but it actually paddled reasonably well for what it is. Much better than comparable kayaks in its class. So performance, no, not high performance, but it performs quite well for all the other things it does. All right, next, comfort. Wow, super comfortable. I mean, look at how much room this thing has. I mean, even with the pedal drive, the flex drive in the middle, there's so much room. It's got padding on the floor everywhere, which is comfortable on the feet, even bare feet, which you really shouldn't be doing when you're fishing and have fish hooks around. But anyway, seat is really comfortable. I really like Jackson's seat. I've always liked Jackson's seats, but this one, it's a really nice seat for both pedaling and paddling. I mean, you can just sit it up straight to get support while you're paddling, and when you want to kick back and you're in pedal mode, you just drop it back to whatever position you want. The whole seat moves on a track system, and so that's how it accommodates people with different leg lengths. What else can I say? It's a comfortable boat. Oh, except for the fact that it does have a high-low sitting position. This seat very easily moves from a high position to the low position. The high position is really quite comfortable, as it usually is when you have your butt higher than your feet. It's more natural sitting position, and it tends to be more comfortable. And because this thing is so stable, that comfort really doesn't come at the cost of much in the way of stability when you're up higher. So 2 thumbs up for comfort. So when it comes to features, this thing has a lot of features. It has storage in the front and back. Not a ton of storage, multi-day trips. You could squeak by, but you don't have a surplus of storage room. But it's not a multi-day boat. That's not really what this thing's designed for. It has these rod storage inside the boat, and you can store 6 rods in here. keeps the tips protected. This rod's tips are protected. This one's not using it. And the whole idea of it is protecting a rod from the idea of holding it like this, where if you go into a stump, you go into a tree, a branch, anything, that can easily take the tip off, especially even in big water. Waves would just could break that tip easily. So rod storage is nice. Now the track systems, it's got this tri-track system all over the boat, as far as forward as I can reach on both sides, all the way to the back here. Now the cool thing about this track system is you can attach anything with different mounts that use the track related mounts, Yak Attack's track mounts. It just slides in. It can go in the top, you can go in from on the side, on the inside, and mount things off this. For example, once this is, tighten that up, and this one's for a rod holder. So I put that, wherever I want to put that, clip it in, and that's locked in place. The high-low seating is another great feature. It's kind of standard these days on fishing kayaks to be able to sit up high or low. When you're sitting up high, you lose, a little bit of stability. Your center of gravity is higher, but the boat's more than stable enough to be in this high position and be very comfortable. If you're in really rough conditions, that's when you drop the seat into the low position and you just get that much more stability. The other nice feature of this kayak is the high sidewalls right here. It makes it a lot more waterproof, prevents water from getting in as easily, and it also holds your gear in here a lot better than shallow sit on top kayaks where things can get washed off or you slip right off. So that's more of a rough water feature, but it's nice for not losing stuff. Now let's talk about the flex drive system. This is Jackson Kayak's new flex drive system. And pedal drives, Hobie came out with the first pedal drive system, and they have that dolphin fin system. And over 25 years, they've developed a really solid system. Over the past 10 years or so, they've had propeller-based systems that have come out. And this is a propeller-based pedal drive system, Jackson's flex drive system. And this is a really nice one. They've made some real improvements from their first version. It feels solid. It just feels really solid, like there's nothing flimsy about it. It's smooth pedaling. The other nice thing is it kicks up. If you hit something, a log, a rock, whatever, it kicks up and out of the way inside a protected zone in the hull of the kayak. And so you're not going to do real damage to it. One of the downsides of pedal drive kayaks in general, the propeller ones in particular, is weeds and grass. They just get bunged up. Well, the really nice thing about this system is that I can just pull the propeller up, pull the weeds off, and then drop it right back down. It's that easy to get the weeds off, but it's also that easy to just disengage the propeller system, the foot pedal system, and then paddle if I end up in shallow water. And I'm taking preemptive measures to all the weeds I see around me. So all in all, I'm really impressed with this new pedal drive system. And for a boat this big, it's powerful enough to really get this boat moving. It's a good system, absolutely a good system. The last feature I'll talk about is the steering of this unit, because the pedal drive just gets you moving forward, but you steer with a rudder. And this rudder is controlled with these steering handles here on the side. First thing I love, there's one on each side, and they work in unison, so I can steer from one side or I can steer from the other depending which hand's busy. That's a nice feature. Not all kayaks have that. Now, as for the steering itself, reasonably effective. This thing can turn, it's got a very decent turning radius. Like any boat this size, it's not like ultra responsive. When you turn it and you're pedaling, it takes a moment to get going in that direction. And once you have turning momentum in one direction, if you want to go the other direction, it takes a second for that rudder. It's just not a huge rudder. It takes a second for it to start turning the other way. But it's not ultra tight. We're not talking about a steering system like a sports car here, but it's not loose either. It's not ultra loose by any means. So it's a good steering system. I'm a stickler for a steering system that feels, I like a sports car, something that feels tight, that's something that when I turn, the boat's going to turn right away. Is that really a realistic expectation when you're not in a sports car. This is not a sports car kayak, so that's probably not a realistic expectation. So it totally does the trick, and it's hard for me to complain about it. So who is this kayak for? This kayak is designed for kayak anglers, for dedicated kayak anglers. It's got all the bells and whistles. I mean, it's for someone who's willing to pay a premium for a kick-butt kayak fishing boat, and for a boat that weighs 140 pounds, deal with a boat that weighs that much. You have to be someone who really wants a pedal drive kayak, and someone who wants a fishing kayak that is pedal drive and that can handle really almost any conditions. It's just an all-round fishing kayak. That takes us to value. This is a $4,200 US dollar kayak. That's an expensive kayak. I mean, that's a very expensive kayak. It's not the most expensive kayak though. There are more expensive kayaks, it's very comparable to other kayaks in its class. For example, the Hobie, the Pro Angler is around $4,600 US dollars. So it's $400 or $500 more than this, or $400, $300 or $400 more than this. So it's right in that ballpark. So whether, if you're in the market for a Pro Angler or a Knarr, a boat that does as much as this does, then it's hard to argue that it's not worth it. But if you aren't a dedicated kayak angler, if you're just looking for an entry-level pedal kayak, something you can fish out of, something you can just cruise around in, well, this is probably overkill for you. I'm not saying that it's bad value, it's probably just not the right choice. So, totally reasonable value, even though it's a very expensive kayak. That's all I gotta say. The Jackson Kayak Knarr. Overall, I really enjoyed my time out in this boat for the past 8 hours. I didn't catch as many fish as I would have liked, but I can't blame the kayak. I can only blame my suckiness at kayak fishing. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to Paddle TV if you haven't already, and stay tuned because we got lots more kayak fishing tips, boat reviews, and paddling adventures coming your way. And to check out the Paddle Tales episode that I went on to test this kayak on Lake Gunnersville, make sure to check the link in the description box down below. I'll leave it there. We'll see you again soon.